identify the causes of your stress. All right, so I talk about, at the beginning of my book, I talk about the pain crisis that I went through, which led to the steps of me unleashing from my 9 till 5. So this pain crisis was brought on by stress and muscle tension. I guess because of the stress of my job, I was very focused on my job and that, and it kind of led me to ignore the pain that I was going through. So one day I woke up and my body was screaming at me and telling me that I can't ignore it anymore. And so that was my pain crisis. I got it sorted. And everything that I've done since then, the unleashing from my 9 till 5, the building of my business, the becoming a best-selling author, the teachings, have been in an effort for me not to go back to that state of pain, and for me to help others to not get into that position for themselves either. And I think that having been through that myself, I'm in the perfect position to help others to not get into that position as well. So, chapter number 1, identify the causes of your stress. So, I do name a few causes. Burnout itself is a cycle, like an addictive cycle of hormones and chemicals that are in the body. And addictive, I say, because just giving, for example, if you are a child and you're living in a high stress environment, your body becomes accustomed to a higher level of stress, which is uncomfortable, but it's your normal, right? The uncomfortable becomes your normal. So as an adult, you are always chasing the comfortable. It's the uncomfortable, which is normal. You're always chasing that. So it's this addictive cocktail, addictive in inverted commas, because you're always looking for that normal, for that baseline, right? Even though it's uncomfortable. So the actions that you take on a daily basis, the choices that you make are going to get you back to that level of normal, right? And as an adult, I think I looked at my life and I realized I didn't want this normal level of stress. I wanted, and it wasn't doing me any good. Yeah, you have to learn how to identify it and how to break out of that cycle of addiction to normal, right? And kind of break out of what seems like normal. All right. So, yes, the cycle of addiction to burnout, and then also hormones. As women over 40, our estrogen starts to drop over the age of 40, and this can impact the way our body reacts to cortisol or adrenaline. We say adrenaline in England, or cortisol in America. Our sex hormones, the progesterone and the estrogen, they affect the way that we interact with the stress hormone, which is adrenaline or cortisol. So when they all act together, so if estrogen starts to drop, that means that it affects the production and the usage of adrenaline. So they're all intertwined. So hormones can have an effect on your stress levels. If your sex hormones are going down, then your adrenaline is likely to rise. And as women over 40, we are more likely to be sensitive to adrenaline. We're more likely to be producing more because of the lack of other hormones. So we have to, we are already kind of in a situation where we're more likely to feel more stress over the age of 40. So this is one reason. Another one is pathogens and biofilms within the gut biome and in other areas of our body. If we are constantly fighting with or dealing with undiagnosed pathogens and biofilms, that can take up a lot of our adrenaline, a lot of the stress. It puts our body under stress, right? It puts the body under stress. It's constantly having to put out fires in our body, deal with stuff, and that can keep our adrenaline up as well. And then, of course, there's our choices, our life choices. And sometimes we make life choices and we think we have to stick with those choices for various reasons. And that can cause us stress. Also thinking that we made this choice, now we've made our bed, we have to lie in it, right? And that there's no way out. We feel trapped because of our choices. This can also cause us a lot of stress, especially if we're looking around, we're stressed. When we're stressed, we don't tend to recognize the scope of options available to us or choices available to us. But then we have to recognize that once we make a choice, we don't have to stick with it. Like, we can make a plan to reassess and to move in another direction. Right? It could be slow, it could be quick, but it is possible. We just have to make sure that we're completely aware of all the choices that are available to us. And I also talk about, later on in the book, I talk about dukkha, which is this Buddhist concept of all of life is pain, right? All of life is pain. So if all of life is pain, then we choose the pain in life that makes the most sense to us, that we can deal with the easiest, right? So choices are about choosing the pain that you want to go through, which one is easier to deal with, right? But yes, don't feel that you have to stick with something because of honor or because, like you feel beholden to it. There are certain responsibilities that come with making choices, changing choices, but taking responsibility in itself is something that we can reframe as well. Okay, if we feel that sticking with a choice is the responsible thing, but it's doing us damage, then is it really responsible? Yes, that's something that we need to do the deep work on. And that's another thing that I talk about in the book.